Trin, up in the estate, you find a nice, quiet little spot, a little private space, a little what looks like some sort of lounging room, to kind of get away from everybody else, in order to, reach out to this person that you know. You're not sure that a message will arrive quick enough, so you are just in this quiet spot. Ulthion has left to go find Godric, and Locke is more than likely pouting in his room.
He doesn't pout.
Definitely pouts.
If that were milk, there'd have been bubbles.
Yep. And you have this moment to kind of figure out who you want to contact, because ultimately, really what you need somebody who knows about Warforged to come here if they can, but they need to be able to arrive tomorrow. And the only way to do that is through either a waystone or a teleportation spell to somewhere.
All right, so I take a seat, exacerbated, searching my noggin for the answer and exploring some of the stories that I know. I pull out of a bit of desperation Thalen's book, because I remember reading something about a Warforged in there. So I pull the book out. I pull the book out with my prop book, and I read through it, and I search for the section.
Go on.
Here it is. Hopefully this is really her and not some surname. Thalen, I'm really betting on you. All right. So I reach into my sack and I pull out a handful of sand. And I set the book down in front of me, and I close my eyes.
Check your messages real quick.
And I read my messages really quick.
Yeah, just real quick, just to make sure.
Unacceptable.
Why is it in a search? Why is it doing this? And why is John up? Why is the
kobold?
Yeah, why is the kobold updating me with stuff?
Because he's a good kobold?
He's talking about the message.
Yeah.
The unacceptable message.
All right. Hopefully, this isn't some flight of fancy. And so I start pouring the hand full of sand over the book as I close my eyes and I focus on Patty Gaffel Stopson. Patty Gaffel Stopson. Patty Gaffel Stopson. As I cast Dream.
Okay.
And so,
what's casting the spell like?
It's a fucking dream, bro.
We're about to find out.
Basically,
I know nothing about
from my
It's a
perspective,
very large spell.
my vision is overtaken by a purple haze, and not the one you're probably thinking of. A purple haze, and I kind of pop out of my body. It's almost like astral projection.
You're looking for is a dark elf,
And suddenly everything starts getting darker as I float up.
the one place you have never
And
looked.
I float up out of the building, over the trees, and then it fades to black
Symbol of
as I
unification.
rush through this vast emptiness, looking for the consciousness of
Just gonna
Patty.
remind you every once in a while.
Through the spell, I become a messenger, and I can visit her in her dream if she's resting.
Okay.
So I basically open up my channels, searching for her and if she's resting.
Okay.
And I wait for, if she's not currently resting, I continue focusing, Patty, and waiting for that channel to open. And this can last for 8 hours if it has to.
Okay. So, with the passage of time being exceptionally ambiguous, after rushing across the continent of Eridor and searching for this consciousness, this connection, this link to the dreaming state, you find a point of light in this the empty vastness of like the spaces in between this dream world, and you see a small child, a gnome with blonde hair, and she has these pigtails, and she's running around this workshop space, this artificer space. And she's laughing and she's having fun, and then you see and recognize her father, Wilbus, is in there, and he's working on this large piece of armor, this ancient warforged that's been gutted. You can see kind of all the parts and the mechanisms on the inside, but there's no soul automata in there. And he's kind of got this welding torch and this magical device that he's using to like fuse the parts together and replace the gears and the mechanisms on the inside. And Patty runs over to this other gnome, this gnome lady, looks very much like her, and she jumps up on her lap, and they're laughing, and she's kind of talking to her, and the gnome like taps her on the nose, and they touch foreheads together. And off to the side, that's when you realize that you see a much older version of the little girl. She's kind of standing off to the side, and she's quietly sobbing as she's experiencing this dream. And you're able to kind of walk over to her.
Yeah, I kind of float in behind her as to not intrude. But I'm gonna intrude. And I take a few soft steps up behind her. Patty. Excuse me, Patty.
So she just almost, like in tears, she just kind of, without turning, just kind of moves her arm, and she says, "No, go away."
Patty, I'm sorry. There's a lot at stake. This is obviously not a good time, but I can't wait for a good time. My name is Trin. I'm visiting your dream. I'm not a part of you.
So again, she responds, "I don't care. This is the only time I have with her now that she's gone. Leave me be."
Who? The only time with who?
Doesn't matter. Leave me be. Please. This is my only respite.
I'm sorry. I understand, but a life is at stake. Possibly more than that. I wish that I could give you both your space and get these answers, but I need to talk to you about this. As I raise my hand, a ghostly wave of smoke forms into Thalen's book. Do you know Thalen? You've heard that name before?
Yes. Yes, I have. What of him?
I have his writings, and he speaks of a warforged, brittle, and some terrible fate that befell her. But I have a warforged friend named Locke, and he's really special, but he's been affected by something. He turned into almost a monstrous version of himself, but not himself, with red eyes. And I found this chapter from Thalen. Brittle went wild with the eyes of red, With every brutal swing came a splash of red. 1 man, 2 men, 3 men, 4. All her 4 foes lay dead on the floor. And it sounds very reminiscent of what's happening to my friend now. But no one believes him. And I don't know anything about Warforged, and I think you're the only one that can help.
So she straightens up and tenses, and then turns around to face you. And there is an aura of heat and fire kind of radiating from her body. And she just gets very serious. Why would I ever help those who left my mother to burn in Avernus alone?
That's a fair point.
From what I understand, they didn't even necessarily have a choice of getting out. They were pulled out. Maybe I can reach out to the mages that pulled them out. Maybe we can help find your mother. It's not like they would leave her there on purpose. I can't believe that from not the people I know. They wouldn't just leave her there.
Well, then you better learn to believe, because they can tell me themselves if they are not cowards. I had to search for this answer on my own through resources. It took time, and all the while, I was left with my best friend in the whole world, gone for months, only to find out that she wasn't just my friend, that she was my mother. The last bit of it that I had, my only connection to her, is now gone. I will not help them. They, who I thought were my friends, are brutes and betrayers. They can come face me themselves. Now, leave me to my memories with my mother.
Is she... What do you know about where your mother is now? Is she gone?
She's dead. They left her in Avernus.
But do you know... Maybe we can get...
There's no getting anybody back from there. It would take the power and work of a deity to do anything, any such action. Leave me be.
But they came back. Why not your mom?
And she just turns away from you and stops responding. And she walks forward into the dream, and she disappears. And the dream begins to disillusion and waver, and you lose the connection to her.
What was that? They didn't know. They would have gone back. I mean, we're still waiting to hear from Hargraves. Maybe Ulthion can help. But with everything, what do I do? As I fade back into my body and land, and I just open the book and I keep reading those sections, and well, I know this is true now, but will they believe it? And I just sit and I read and I rack my brain trying to think of what I'm going to do and how I'm going to present when this all comes to pass in the coming day and time runs out.
As the foremost expert in the world on Warforged and how to repair them, there is no other place that Locke could go to figure out what's wrong with him.
That's a fair. That's fair. Sorry.
I guess if we can get him out of here, I guess we'll just have to take them. Because that took so much. So as I'm gonna try and I'm gonna sit there and I'm gonna start to pour the sand again and reach out. I don't have any other choice. Wilbus. As I start pouring the sand again and I cast Dream one more time.
Okay.
Because if she won't help me, maybe her father will.
Traveling through the
It's gonna be fine.
the astral plane, through the dreams.
I know.
His is a mind that you cannot find at the moment.
Damn it. Wonder if he's even still around. I hope this is enough. After spending this energy trying to seek out these dreams in the ether, I just set my pack as a pillow and I lay back. And I try and use my drowsiness to explore my creative mind and hope.
As you lay down to kind of throw this pillow down and get comfortable, you get a response from Inara to your message. Trin, as luck would have it, I was already in Eridor. I'm at the Phoenix Gate. I can be there right away. I will speak on behalf of everyone and use what influence I do have to help discuss his character.
Oh. It's something. They revere the dragons. You wonderful woman. As I kiss the golden note, and then it like sparkles into nothing with a sigh of relief. And then I just try and rest.
Okay. All right. That brings us over to Ulthion. Hitting the edge of your estate and going up the long path to your home. You pass some of the guards who are on duty, just doing what they're supposed to. They're staying vigilant. All the other guests and all the other people have cleared out. Everyone's gone home, so it's basically just the staff, the family staff, and your friends, Locke and Trin, who are on the property at this point.
Tell me, friends, has Lady Aethwen gone to rest yet?
Whoops. Let me close the old notes there. They're opening. Hold on, they're opening. Computer's having the notes are having a moment.
Sometimes elves just take a long time to respond to each other.
God.
True.
It's a very pregnant pause, but
Yeah.
elf on elf time, so it
I
lasts
ask and the
forever.
elf looks up at me. We lock eye contact for 3 to 40 minutes.
There we go. So, Fanway, just simply responds, I do believe she did.
All right. Any updates on the Warforged or anything? All
No,
quiet?
I've rotated out with one of the other guards, and he's standing at the door. It hasn't been that long, but ultimately this was unfortunate because we hadn't had a chance to eat, and we were waiting for our turn to take time off and enjoy the festivities from town.
Oh, I'm sorry. Please, feed yourselves. I don't think any attack is imminent.
I believe Dorgalar said that he was going to bring us all a meal.
All right. Well, please never starve yourself on my accord. I am sorry that you were unable to eat during the festival.
Well, all should be well.
All right. Well, I think I'll probably turn in as well. Maybe visit Trin before. Do not hesitate to wake me if anything happens, of course.
If anything should happen, I think everybody would notice.
Probably true. Thank you.
Either way, when it's our turn to rest, we shall do so, and we will inform the relief guards when they arrive.
All right. I'll just nod and walk off looking for Trin.
Okay. It doesn't take you long. One of the staff kind of says that he's taken up residence in the one of the lounging rooms. And when you show up and look through the doorway, you see him laying there with his head on a pillow, and he's just in the middle of the floor, just kind of chilling.
Yeah. Trin, are you awake?
Yes.
Good. Would you mind going for a walk with me?
You know how I feel about walking.
It's a short hike, but it's worth it.
Fine. As I sit up and I flop my bag back and stand up and I brush myself off. Where are we walking to?
A favorite place of mine, not too far from here, up on the hill. Actually, had meant to show Locke earlier today, but that's right out.
I guess. I suppose so. Has anyone checked on him? I know I'm not supposed to see him because of laws.
Well, I suppose the nice thing about being an incarcerated warforged is you don't need any real creature comforts, food or water, or anywhere to leave your waste. So, one thing I can say is that he's probably fine.
What if he goes red eyes and rips his arm off and starts beating the walls with it and throwing robot poop and limbs out of the window or something?
Well, I think you and I both know that robot poop isn't a thing. That being said, if he ripped off his arm and started beating the walls, that would probably be the best case scenario. So,
That doesn't make me feel better.
walking bomb.
That really doesn't make me feel better.
It's not that far, and we'll be fine.
All right. I suppose let's go.
I am going to take a turn up to my favorite place, near my home at least, up by the obsidian cave where the phoenix used to live.
Okay.
On the way, what do you... Didn't really get a chance to speak. What do you think about what happened with Locke? Or what's
Well-
going to happen?
I think it's not just a Locke thing, and I do think it was out of his control. It wasn't him. It wasn't the Locke we know. It was like a distorted version of who he really is. And I've seen stuff like that before.
Right.
And you just know when you see it.
Well, I don't think anyone's questioning whether or not it was him acting. It doesn't change the fact that he's dangerous and rules were broken, and an investigation will need to happen. We're not planning on imprisoning him forever or executing him or anything like that. Yes, it is a serious moment and a lot is at stake, but it will be okay.
Yeah, I know, because Anara's coming.
Is she?
Yeah. She said she'll be here right away. She's actually nearby. She'll be here tomorrow for everything that's gonna happen. And I found some evidence myself in Valen's book. He talks about something similar happening, but
Similar happening to another Warforged?
yeah. I know you're not the circle and your magic works differently, but you can't pull anyone out of hell, can you?
Out of Avernus? I mean, I suppose the arcane and divine magics would be accessible here, but you'd have to know very important details, like where this person is. And it's not as simple as just opening a gate and pulling them through. Lives would probably be lost.
Well, it just seems from some of the stuff I've read and the person I talked to, apparently there are more than just Hargreaves that got hurt. The Warforged that I'm referencing also got caught in the events of Rivergate. But apparently she didn't make it out.
Godric spoke of a Warforged in Rivergate, one that fought alongside them. Is that the same?
Yeah. Apparently, with their soul automatoma thing, it's not necessarily as they're not born like that. They're implanted like they were other people before, and I wonder who Locke was, because this Warforged apparently, from as far as what the experts were saying, is actually someone's mom. But now she's not just dead, she's trapped.
Well, I hate to say it, but since I started traveling with the group, I've noticed a tendency to abandon those on the fringes. I don't think it's on purpose. I think Thunder Dangerous is easily distracted. But
Well, they have a really important mission.
they do. Perhaps they should be a bit more discerning about who they let in, then
Yeah.
the cost for our line of work is great, and not everyone should have to pay it. If she was a mother, and if her daughter truly needed her, then it is the responsibility of the group to turn that help away at times.
I don't think they really knew. At least not everything. It's hard when you learn things you didn't know at the time. But even though you didn't know, it really feels like it matters, because it does matter. Anyway, I'm hoping I got just enough help for tomorrow.
Well, I think the voice of a dragon will lend itself quite well. The proceeding, if it is to happen tomorrow, may seem stiff and even cold, but trust that there is a process and that it is a fair process. Please. There are a lot of controls in place so that we wouldn't have any advantages towards swaying this council left or right. We won't know who's on it until it's announced. We're not allowed to have contact with any of them. A representative will be named. There is a gray area here, but it's likely that could be myself. I'm not entirely sure. Either way, I intend to speak on Locke's behalf.
I know it's an upsetting situation, but don't think that it's lost on me that you have a lot at stake too. Because independent of how this place runs and all your rules, this is your home. So I just wanted to say that I appreciate it, everything you're doing. And in trying to help, I'm sorry if Thunder Dangerous put you at odds.
I understood the risks when I invited you. I would like to make it known that I did originally plan to come here by myself, though.
Yeah, but it's not like Locke's ever done that before. I mean, we prepped for Godric. He's been on his best behavior. But you can't account for red eye, world domination, evil villain stuff out of nowhere. It's definitely not in his character.
Well,
Yeah, he can be a little flippant, especially when we go out and there's a bunch of gross food and people are gross. They're fascinating.
Trinch. We're here.
Well,
I point over to the this. It's not really a cave entrance. It's a at the top of this small hill. There's this almost concave, carved out area, and in the center a small rise. The ground around, including the rise itself, is in most places blackened, glassed over obsidian. And from this point on the hill, you can see Mindrathis in the distance, and my villa, my home nearby. Just a little quiet, please. I come here to think, focus. The magic is particularly strong.
your divine magic.
Well, just this place is closer to what matters than other places. As I walk in, Phoenix roosted here. Phoenix has a special meaning amongst my people.
So it's not a big red flamey bird? It's like something else that you call a phoenix?
No, it's a big red flamey bird.
Oh, well that kind of explains the
The glass.
ground.
As I step and it like cracks a little.
wanted to show Locke. He's so sure that this place feels off. There is a purity in rebirth and redemption. And maybe he would have seen it here.
Maybe. Sounds kind of like it gets messier before it gets cleaner.
Isn't that true about everything?
But I think all he can really see is the mess. Or what he perceives as a mess.
You know, he is warforged, and maybe even if he doesn't realize it, if you are made specifically for one purpose, everything is going to look like it's part of that purpose.
I don't know, that's kind of warforged.
Right, you know, to a hammer, everything is a nail.
But if they're people, are they hammers? Or are they just people who think they're hammers?
I suppose each and every one of them is a bit different.
Well, that's kind of what I wonder is... Like Locke, he doesn't really talk about himself ever. He's always observing. He separates himself. It's like he's so pragmatic. It's almost like a way of protecting himself. I kind of wonder if maybe this magic and some of these spells are underlying memories of who he used to be. Or what he used to be.
Well, I don't think it matters what he used to be. It matters what he wants to be, and where he will go now. The elves here on Eridor, we reincarnate when we die. Our souls eventually return to the pool, and from there we are birthed again to live new lives. Some of our past may lend itself subconsciously, but ultimately our reputation, our respect is all gathered in the here and the now, not off of what we did in a past life. And I can only see the same thing for a warforged, whether he was a murderer or a maniacal being or a great hero. It doesn't matter what he was, it matters what he is. Instead of focusing on that lost past, I'd focus more on future you may be losing while looking the other direction.
Yeah, you're doing that big philosophical thing. But sometimes it's hard to look at the future when everything's colored by other things, outside influences or mistakes. I know as well as many how that can be. So, he's so pragmatic. I think you can see potential when it's obvious. But when it's not so obvious and it's hard, and it's messy, I think that's where he really struggles. And I think he's messy right now.
I think he needs to learn that that struggle isn't supposed to be done alone. We can't help him sitting here theorizing how he may or may not work.
But how do we, if he won't let us in, how do we get close to him? Godric and him, there's an underlying, but it's the very machismo. We love each other so much that we dare not speak its name. You know? It's like, yeah, they'll get mad and worked up, but only in certain moments. The rest of the time, you would never know.
What do you hope to be when this is all over? Say we defeat Takesis and save Terrowyn. What do you hope to be? Better than you were before, right? Something greater than you are now? Not in the sense of glory, but in the sense of self. Correct?
I don't know. I kind of try and focus on the here and now.
That's fine, but ultimately, as a group, we reinforce, support each other. And what that means is that we need to grow. if that machismo don't speak it thing is working for Godric and Locke, then we can look at it. Does it need to be supported, or does it need to be exhorted? Do we push aside their will and explain to them that it's time to hug it out, or do we... what do we do? The point is, even with Katerina going through what she went through, it wasn't enough that we were just there for each other. We also needed to be able to help her grow. We still have a lot of work to do there. But she's opened up. She's willing to talk about things now that she probably would have kept secret before. At least I hope. So we just continue to be there for them and see how that works.
Hopefully your family, as I like gesture out over the horizon, hopefully they can take some of this on themselves, because it sounds like good advice for them too.
Maybe.
Because that's kind of why this is all happening, isn't it? To one extent or another.
If you have for hundreds of years an enemy at your gates, a constant threat on the outside, your biggest fear stops being them as you get used to fighting them. Your biggest fear starts being what can happen inside the gates. So when we bring people in who aren't fighting the same battles as us, who don't have the same perspective as us, any chaos they cause inside causes us to look away from the walls we are protecting. I'm not saying that it's right or wrong, just hoping that you can understand that fear that we have of how people act inside our city, inside our walls, in the places where we're supposed to feel safe. It's there for a reason. It may seem regimented, or I don't think a single elf would deny that there is a fear that lingers on all of us. But we need to know that the people here aren't going to hurt us on the gates, on the walls.
It'd be nice if life worked that way.
Right, well, it does here a lot of the time. I didn't bring you up here to necessarily worry about the problems we're facing now, though. This is where I come to find peace, to relax. So I figured I'd ask you, do you want to continue dealing with the problem? If that's the case, we go back down the hill and see what we can figure out before we go to bed. Or do you want a distraction?
A distraction?
You want a distraction? I hand you my sword. What do you know about elven history?
Well, I know a bit. But I wouldn't say I'm an expert. I've only had, what is it? 10 years to figure it out.
But you do walk in lore.
Yeah.
Perhaps you can help. There's something...
The world is a bigger place than just the elves when it comes to lore.
What? Impossible.
Yeah. There's a whole lot of perspectives and philosophies and just people being people. And by that I mean dwarves, halflings, everybody, goblins, even bugbears.
Even bugbears. I sense I ask because I sense a magic on this blade, and I know it's of great import. Alatrari himself picked it for me in the ritual. I have yet to attune to it, though. And I thought maybe you could help me. There's some secret... I don't know if you can feel it as well, but when I wield it, I sense almost a whisper.
Oh! Said something really quiet. His accent is really heavy, too. I'm gonna keep listening for a little bit. And I'm going to try and use my eloquence and resonance to see what secrets I can decipher from this sword.
Make an Arcana check.
Oh, I'm half proficient, even though half proficiency isn't a thing. Look at that. Look at skills. Aha! Aha! If only I could inspire myself.
You're awesome.
Inspired.
There.
Watch. You're awesome.
I'm gonna do the Yamcha thing because I'm sitting over here.
Oh, you do the Yamcha thing.
Oh!
No way!
Oh shit!
Fucking works, bro!
Nat 20!
What?
22!
Yes!
Woo! Look, elbows to elbows.
Elbows to
That's all
elbows.
things.
Except all the times the
Yeah.
Yamcha didn't work.
Yeah,
They're
or
just thrown out the window just now.
Just now.
Yep.
It's reset.
Yeah, it's reset.
The
It
power
works.
of Yamcha has been revealed.
Casino? After casino? We're taking Yamcha.
Take Yamcha with us. Just set him down on the craps table.
Yeah. So, sir, that's not allowed.
He gets the crap
That's
beaten
allowed
out of
for
him, so
Yeah.
you don't have to.
Yeah.
that.
I want that shirt.
I can hear you on the
With
playback.
just the sound of the wind blowing through the trees up here on the crest, there is a harmonious sort of tune playing through the air. It's subtle and it's echoing off of the obsidian floors very quietly. A very soft melody in the area that you can pick up on. There's an ancient history, and something is here still. Some leftover ancient presence is still here in the zone. And after a few moments, you realize what it is you're gleaming into the music, the harmony of the phoenix itself that it would make when it was resting here. It had these lovely low tone melodies that it would play out. Then there is a slight synchronization between the weapon itself, and you hear words being spoken in Elvish.
Which I do speak.
A phrase. And it's asking to be bonded with its wielder. It's calling for it, for its true purpose. And that's all you hear. For that brief moment, you were connected to some ancient power, some ancient past, this history of this place. And then, as quickly as it's there, it disappears in silence, leaving just the rustling of leaves.
So, you would wield the sword.
Well, I'm meant to wield it. I don't understand.
Do you truly believe that?
I believe that, yes, I believe the sword was given to me by Ulthion himself. I don't think I'm meant to give it to someone else.
It calls out for you. Its wielder. And it's bound for a greater purpose. Which if you are to wield it, then I can only imagine it's your purpose. So the secret of the sword falls on you.
Well,
The real question is, what is that purpose?
I suppose that is a very philosophical way of saying that the sword's going to do what I need it to do. But
Provided you follow what your purpose is.
of that, I have no doubt I will do. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. I suppose it wasn't. It was special. But I think you would have found your way with it anyway. You didn't need my help.
Perhaps, but I figured you might want to hold it. You see the dark wood handle there? They don't really make them that way anymore. It tells me that either someone took great care in replicating this weapon, or that it was forged and used during the War of Sorrows, which is a very long time ago. It's a great honor.
Yeah.
I miss Soraya's wrath already, though. I'm used to leaning on my weapon.
Well,
I can walk so far.
you know what they say. If everything's honorable, nothing's honorable. As I push you and I start running down the hill.
Nobody says that. That's not how that works at all, Tren. I am going to show Tren why elves are incredibly graceful and swift. I'm gonna beat him in a race down the hill.
No, he's not.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna move.
Nimble escape.
So nimble escape gives you, for nimble escape, when you guys make this acrobatics test, I'm going to give you advantage on it.
Ooh!
Ooh. So he is especially spry and like runs. You can only imagine with the kind of speed and hurry needed of things that are much smaller being preyed upon by things that are much bigger than them.
Why do you gotta colorize it like that?
This is instinct. He's goes down the path and definitely jumps over vines and over the roots of these great trees that overgrow this elfstone path that leads up here.
Over the river and through the woods to Thalen's
It's surprisingly. You're a little impressed. You're a little impressed at how quick he moves. You've never seen him do something like this before. But either way, this is your home and you've run up and down this pathway 1,000,000 times. And he doesn't know that there's a small shift and dip in the ground coming up, and you're waiting to see if he gets past it. So you guys roll your opposed checks.
I would like advantage based on the fact that I'm an elf, and elves are better than you.
I'm going to give you advantage based on the fact that you've been running this path for years.
For hundreds of years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look at one of your dice. Look at that. Da, da, da.
All right, at the same time.
Okay.
1, 2, 22.
14. Oh.
Yes.
Thank you.
As I flee, killing.
Yeah. You begin to catch up with him. You see it coming, and you assume there's no way that he's going to realize that this is coming. But as that passes the thought, you see him come to a slide, kick up the side of the tree, grab the overhanging branch, and swing across it and land on the other side, and just tumbles down the hill and goes. You're so impressed by this display of acrobatics that you kind of just stop and you decide to just kind of give him the win on this one.
Yeah. Give it as it is already earned.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just.
But
you know
never
what?
let
On the
me
way
know.
down the hill, I'll take a slightly different path and get there even later.
Mm. Gotcha.
As I run into his villa, and I run upstairs and I close the door. I take a seat and I start like resting.
About 3.5 or so minutes later to 4 minutes later, Ulthion comes through the arches of the estate into the open courtyard that makes up the center.
I just call out the window. Elf got showed up by little goblin. What now? As I'm like dancing in the window.
I look up and just speak to this mischievous window. I say, You didn't follow the proper etiquette of elven races, and as such, you are disqualified.
There's always another law.
You know what's not? You know what goblins are not, Grace One? Victory! Ah! Make up all the rules you want if it makes you feel better. As I hop down and I close the window. Last word.
I like the image of just plop and you see the hand come up.
I just sit and laugh in the courtyard for a little bit. Good night, Trin. Good night. And then yeah, I'll head to bed too.
Okay.
Actually, I'll head to my room, but I'll attune to my sword before bed.
Okay.
Hope your wife doesn't wake up and see you just like holding this sword.
In elven culture, I'm sure it's perfectly fucking normal.
He hopes.
God, I told you to knock.
He hopes that this is acceptable player agency. Yeah.
Ooh, the sword again.
I'm looking for the thingamabobber that I wrote for the sword. So your chamber is pretty large, but the sleeping area is separated from the sort of general common area, which you can use for like studying. And there's an alcove for books. There's a fireplace and furniture and such for kind of just being in the room, having conversations and spending time with loved ones. Ravelar is particularly fond of, or was particularly fond very early on, of taking your books and putting them in and out of order consistently. So out of habit, one of the first things you do is you go over to this bookshelf and you go through the scrolls and you kind of run your finger across them to make sure everything is alphabetized. And sure enough as it is, there is a V up in one of the A slots, and they've been swapped.
Close.
I'll chuckle and fix them.
Mm-hmm.
Was he clever and he turned it upside down so the V looked like an A?
Probably.
Yeah.
Aside from that, the curtains, the privacy curtains and stuff, have already been drawn up in the sleeping area where the bed is. But they're still light enough, and the moon is shining through a balcony that overlooks the outer estate, and down by this like row of colonnades and overgrown, vine wrapped and root wrapped kind of like trees that form these slight arches, just all of them intermingling together to make this semi-covered path that, when the sun is up, kind of just makes these very defined god ray breaks of light. And you remember being like, you can almost just picture yourself being a small child and playing Slayer of demons, and with your mentor and all the people who helped shape you into who you are, your father, your mother, and growing up on the estate. You just have the amount of memories that you have over such a long lived life is, you feel like an impossible task at times to keep in order, living such a long life, and you still have about 500 or 600 more good ones to go. Eventually you will see a Ravelar grow up and do all the same things that you did. He'll go train and spend time away in the host, in the army, and living a very similar life to the one that you had. All of that is at risk with what happens with Locke tomorrow. Banishment of you for a time being or permanently, depending on the egregious nature of how they decide to view what happened. Even with a pardon on Alachari's behalf through you as a lawmaster or prior lawmaster, could result in social sanctions and ostracization, lost opportunities for a Ravlar in the future, private tutorship, spurred relationships with your neighbors in the estates to which he goes, which is important for making political and familial connections. It's how elves meet and are married, and marriages are arranged, and relationships are built for hundreds of years in the future, which it's all at stake for your family name. The painstaking length of time that it has taken the Amadir household to get where it is, to build this estate. The town is named in honor of the deeds done by your grandfather during the first Dragon Wars. This is your land. But it's already in trouble as it is since your father disappeared. And finances and everything has changed hands, and your wife does the best that she can to manage everything along with Burup's father. But ultimately, with your father experiencing the end of his life cycle and leaving to come to terms with that, the entire estate has fallen into array. And you gleam through this by seeing the books and the notes and the letters, and everything is out here on the table where Aethwin has been working on it constantly. If things don't go exactly right tomorrow, you could be the last patriarch, steward of your family house, as a prosperous and well-received name on Eredor. You hear Aethwin kind of stir for a moment, but she's a heavy sleeper, but she's very active, and sometimes she talks in her rest. Because though elves don't truly sleep, laying down is pretty restful.
It's comfy.
It's comfy.
You can get a REM cycle going in your trance.
Exactly. The trance is... She may be aware of the outside world if you speak to her or approach her, but if elves are left to do so in absolute private, it's be no different than sleeping for a human. It's more than likely that right now she's experiencing reliving some past memory of something in the most vivid way possible, in the kind of ways that humans could never understand. Maybe even a past life. As you're both at the sort of age when you start experiencing some of your very earliest memories of your past lives.
Look in her direction and back down at my sword. I've rested on the table on top of all of these ledgers and books. Back up towards her. I put my hand on the sword, close my eyes, and focus my divine energy into the blade and try to find a union with it.
So, after a few moments, you hear that divine tone, this low ambience, this harmonious music, this song that sort of is playing in the world, and it's ringing out. And there's a divine sort of presence that you feel when you touch it. There is a flashing of memories, exceptionally erratic. Nothing is in order, but there's an exceptionally long history, a brutal and bloody history associated with this blade. You can hear the whispers of the dead and the past wielders coming through the veil and showing you these signs. And then a voice kind of comes over the top clearly and states a clue to a greater power to you. And the blade, it writes it on the inside of the blade, right in the center, along the straight edge, just this 2 set of elven characters and words just right on top of one another, offset this very small sentence. And then it subsides, and you feel at one with the blade, just as you did with Sarai's wrath. It now feels like an extension of your own body, becomes lighter, becomes faster, even seems to become almost glamored with magic and divine radiance as it connects to you and then thus to Alatrari and his power. It's now an instrument of his righteous vengeance and fury.
I place my forehead on the flat of the blade, whisper in Elven, "Thank you." And then I put the blade right back on the table and quietly take off my armor and my arming clothes underneath, change into something a lot more comfortable, and I'll go lay down with Aethwyn in our very common pose, my back directly against hers, so that we can watch out for each other. And I'll rest.
I need at least 45% humidity for the spell to work.
So then you're just like
Fair enough.
fucking ice cone of cold, and you're like just right. Fine.
Well, that
Anyway,
would
I'm
drop
sitting
the
cross-legged
humidity
right on
because
the
it
edge of
causes
that teleportation circle.
precipitation
Just
of the latent humidity
contemplating.
in the air, pull it out of the air because it causes drift fire.
I kind of assumed that's what you were doing the whole time.
Mhm.
Which is why in the morning, you come out and nothing has happened. So, the morning breaks. Upon the next day, you both arouse after a glorious night of getting absolutely fucking
What are you doing?
hammered.
Okay.
There is a rather large pig that decided to cuddle up next to you in the back.
Aww.
Just kind of like moves and makes a couple of noises. I'm gonna try to remember to make this joke after we're not live. Anyways.
Damn terms of service.
Yeah, damn you terms of service. Katarina, you wake up, you've got straw in your hair.
Oh,
You know,
pig
you
is
see
a
Godric over there, just,
description,
cuddling this pig. He just kind of sits up and
not
Ugh.
an
it kind
animal.
of just
I get it.
he pushes it and it rolls over and it just gets up and just kind of meanders out of the shed. But you can hear the sounds of like kind of the town just
It
waking
worked.
up and
Played into
going.
it.
People in their daily lives out on the streets. Neither of you speak Elvish, right?
Nope.
Nope. So it all sounds like gibberish to you.
He didn't even ask me. He's just like, yeah, got it.
Yeah, the elven version of Bibbidi Bobbidi.
Yep.
Let's have it zippity down.
It basically looks like, hey, I'm an elf. Yeah, you're an elf. Just back and forth, just all throughout,
Hey!
everywhere. Anyways.
So how to use. Word to your mother. Yeah, pass along.
I wonder if elves drink coffee.
But it's an especially beautiful day.
Because it always
Sun-
is, apparently.
That's right.
I'm gonna take away a really important magic item as part of your punishment. Now there will be. Hal, where's the consequences, Locke? Just fucking take your staff away.
There's
from me,
always more
motherfucker.
items, friend.
Not if I don't give them to you.
That's fair.
I am God. I'm the one above.
Yeah. But yeah. So I mean, you're both awake. So what do you want to do?
Wonder what they're serving for breakfast.
are you doing, Godric?
Good as I can. But what happened and what's going to happen, I don't know. When I talk to Ulthion, it's kind of the same. I'm more worried about what might happen after. I'm hoping they just banish him and be done with it. But he is not right. I've never seen this before. I've spent more time with him than anyone else. I've never seen this before. He's never done this. Even when they were trying to pull him for pieces, he was just asking them to stop. I was the one who stopped it.
Well, on the bright side, he didn't hurt anyone, even if, maybe something in him tried.
Hopefully, we'll have to wait and see. Unfortunately, I'm still waiting for, I told Ulthion that we would be here, so if there's a trial, he should be picking us up or letting me know where it is.
I think him, as well as the rest of us, I think we're going to get out of this all right. Even if maybe we're not welcome back here after.
I understand Ulthion needing to do his duty, I guess. So I've kind of thought back on some of the words his wife said, and the idea of Ulthion not being able to go home does bother me. Because I know that feeling well. But technically, I still have a light at the end of my tunnel. I would hate to see his crash down and closed. So I want to figure this out, and then hopefully figure out what the hell is going on with Locke. And now we have part of the answer now with the whole infinite maze and, oh god, what is the name of that place? Aklaxia. I believe. I've heard some things about it, but... So, well... Let's go see what they have for food, huh?
You know what? For winning the foot race.
Hey! You did one. Good job.
I'll go, I know I'm not going to be able to do much, but I'm going to go help you up out of the... Even though sitting, you're nearly as tall as I am.
I just kind of put my hand on your shoulder and then use my leg to lean forward and pull up, helping it.
It's the thought that counts.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. I'm using her without using her as much as I can.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Let's
So,
go get some food then.
Yes.
As you're going to enter the back of the prancing fae, the door opens and this bugbear tosses this old bucket of water out and just hits the ground and just makes mud at your feet or whatever, and he's just like, "Oh, you're awake. The both of you.
Yes.
All right. Fine, come inside."
Was that to wake me up?
No.
All right.
Honestly, the way you drank last night, I just assumed you were dead.
I got a little close.
Well, I was serving food. Go in there and eat. And then I think you mentioned something about last night about your friend, and you're waiting to hear about him.
Yes.
Well, the Vault of Laws is hard to miss. It's right in the center of town. You'll see it. You should go wait there for them.
Any other descriptives about this building?
It's hard to miss.
That doesn't help me at all. I'm not from here.
I'm assuming that she understands.
I'm sure we'll be able to find it. Thank you
You'll
very
be able
much.
to find it, I promise.
That is so unhelpful.
All right, come on, Godric. I'm gonna link my arm with his and just kind of
I'll
start.
just kind of get pulled along completely fine.
Yeah. They're serving an oat-based porridge. So yeah. Just eat that with a very, very sweet mead alongside that in the morning.
Oh, This is hitting the spot. I feel like the ringing in my head. Should be fine.
So you just consume your breakfast, and after an hour and a half or so, you kind of head to the center of town. And like you said, it's hard to miss. It's a pretty prominent building. It's designed, and there's a large water feature of Alachari out front holding scales. Waking up, it's like not missing a beat. The day and the workings of the estate starts really early in the morning. Your day starts even earlier, only needing very little actual rest. You spend the very early morning, about the first 3 hours or so, waiting for Trin to wake up. 3 or 4 hours, working with Aethwen on some of the estate's affairs, like she asked you to now that you were back. Putting some things in order and discussing Aravelar's tutors and where he should go and how long, like language lessons, and having a brief discussion on martial training. And it's getting to that point where he should start familiarizing himself with hunting, with bows, and with like wooden swords, and training up the weight in them up to a real one when he's closer to 12 or so, 13-ish, when he'll start his true martial training. Trin comes out in the morning. With that, the guards together, you kind of settle the estate's affairs, and you go to let Locke out of the room. And they open the door, and he's sitting there like he usually does. He's really calm. But you do happen to notice a very distinct teleportation circle in the middle of the room. Easy to make out. Hard to miss.
Yeah, some of the furniture is moved to the walls
Mm-hmm.
to make room for it.
Mm. You relieved the like the third set of guards, by the way. You know, and they go eat breakfast and stuff, and kind of just assuming that you can handle it, they just leave.
All right. Well, I hope your night wasn't as torturous as you made it out that it would be.
No. Calm and quiet.
Good.
You can gather the rest, and we can all just leave.
We have somewhere else to be first. If we are not able to keep our word and to respect the laws of those around us, we can't possibly expect any of these people to help us when we ask. You're right, though. You could leave. They look down at the teleportation circle. There is literally nothing stopping you. So why are you still here?
Where would I go? Alone.
Suppose, as I look over at Trin, that must be his way of saying that he doesn't want to leave some or all of us.
Well, that's good, because you probably could have if you really wanted to.
Yes. We're going to deal with this today. We'll head to the Hall of Laws, and there we'll probably speak to a council or tribunal, depending on how many show up. It should be village elders and local magistrates. The vault is not... well, it's another holy site. But the magistrate and judges will help set this in the right order.
We're in your corner, Locke. We're going to try and make sure this goes as smoothly as possible, even if not everything is up to us. And by going through this in this way, it at least save some semblance of the relationship between, our group and respecting this nation's laws, it may come back in a very beneficial way on the back end. But nevertheless, we're here for each other.
I'll do what I have to for you all.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I
all we can really
appreciate
ask
that.
of each other.
And because Ulthion will no doubt suffer the consequences more than anyone.
Did you have any episodes
Well,
since like last night or?
No. The house will be burning, I think.
Well, that's good. You're not feeling anything.
Feel myself.
Okay. If you need help, if you start to think something's gonna happen, please let me know.
If you'd like a change of clothes, I know you don't need one, but perhaps you wanted to wear something a bit more presentable. I did have something brought down.
No, I think I'll go as I am.
Understood. All right. To the vault then, and I'll lead the way to the center of town.
So you're, I assume you're dressed in everyday wear, right?
Um,
Or are you gonna wear your armor and stuff down there?
I may not be a lawmaster anymore, but my armor is that of a lawmaster's, and I will wear it.
Okay.
I'll have and one of my attendants carry the sword and shield, though.
All right. So yeah, you grab one of the younger workers, Theodred, to come kind of carry your weapon and some of your documents and books, kind of with you. You take Thalen's book, as well as one of the things that Trent apparently has done for you is he marked out the passages and made really good annotations for you to read very briefly.
Mhm.
So he hands those to you.
Here. Notice this section and
Oh, yes.
this ribbon. It's right here.
Right, you've done a fine job, Trin. Thank you.
Yeah.
In another life, maybe you would have made a fine lawmaster. Well, you still could someday. But I'll take that book. I'll also take my Librum Thicinia and whatnot. And I will be actively flipping through the pages and muttering certain laws and citations under my breath as we're walking.
Yeah, it's an objectively beautiful day, and when you were all there at night, obviously this is nothing new for you, but at night it was hard to see the kind of the swath of land and territory that the estate covers, and orioles and some thrushes are kind of making nests on the outside and outer rims and kind of singing early in the morning, and there's a massive herd of red deer kind of out grazing on one of the further pastures and further corners. One of the things you notice coming up to the front entrance is there are no walls, there are no gates, and there are no boundary markers for where the estate kind of begins and ends. The town is at least 5 miles away, realistically. It's a pleasant and sort of downhill walk, and there's like a running creek and stream that runs through the bottom of the property, which is a short bridge crosses. But after about a couple hours, you end up very early morning in the busy kind of market of Emadiran, a town which carries kind of the namesake of his household. And it's busy, filled with different traders and the second class. The Destral, which is made up of, you see some goblins and some hobgoblins. There are also humans, some halflings and a few gnomes just kind of out doing business first thing in the morning. But a large part of it seems to be most of them. They're building a large shipment of goods from the area that are probably headed to Mendrathis. So there's a lot of work being done around that. There's about 8 carts or so, large ones filled with goods and food, wine and such that's made on one of the local vineyards. And they're carried by these massive elk, huge in scope and size, and their horns just go out this great crowns over the top of their heads. And they're, everybody's working hard to fill them up and get them set to head to Mendrathis. Walking through the center of town, though, you eventually end up at the outside of the vault of Laws, where you see Katerina and Godric are kind of just outside by this water feature, just kind of looking down into the. It's not really a fountain per se, but it is magically cleaned and maintained, so it's crystal clear. And in a sort of similar idea that even human cultures share, which makes you wonder if it's a human thing anyways. Small bits like copper coins have been thrown on the inside for some reason. And there's a variety of different things that one might do that for. Good omens, offerings to Altrari, as there's a shrine dedicated to him, but there's no actual church or place where people practice the religion, as it's very personal, and a lot of people will just practice in their homes with small effigies, and you can always come here and throw a coin as an offering for his goodwill. Maybe you need a judgment to go your way, or something has happened, because most of the actual legal dispute, as Ulthion explains to you, is normally between this land and that thing, and your grazing herd of deer or sheep or oxes is in my boundary, or I'm asking for an extension of some legal matter or some ruling or judgment on a will or something like that. Or they're very small slights in some way, social slights, like this household spoke negatively of my household and it's unfounded, and I would like you to basically tell them to take it back publicly. There's a lot of apology and stuff that's done publicly in these legal proceedings, because most of the time, real, actual hard crime is hard to come by in Eredor outside of the Foreigner District in Mendrathis. So, yeah, you see them all out there. The both of them.
Godric, Katerina, do you rest well?
Oh, no.
There's in your...
At that, I just kind of grab my hair.
that worked. Oh, did he sleep in a sty?
Hey.
Sty, that's the word I was looking for earlier. Nice.
Yes.
There was no place to stay, so we helped out, and we weren't sure if we were in the good graces of your wife. So I decided to do some work to pay for the night.
Well, you are very not in the good graces of Aethwyn, though I would not call her my wife, just wife. I do not own her.
No, you own each other.
No.
That's what that is.
No.
I think we're losing sight of what's important. Is Godric's not arrested?
Of course he's not.
Katerina kept me in line.
Oh, it was nothing.
Well, I don't quite know what's going to happen when we go in there, but we'll need to be very careful not to speak out of turn, to be respectful. They're going to listen to the charges leveled. They'll probably hear some eyewitness accounts, and I will speak as orator of the defense. I will do what I can to explain the situation and cite the right laws, and then we're at the mercy of counsel. The judges won't be allowed to speak to each other. They're not supposed to swear each other's opinions or anything during the trial. But we'll hear them out, and I do believe you will be given chance to speak if you'd like to. So I suggest anyone who plans on doing so start thinking now about what you're going to say. Now, there's a patient, but we are going to hear the slightest changes in your conviction. If you can't think of what to say, that's going to come off as you not being convicted of your beliefs when it comes to Locke. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Good. News, Inara is going to be present.
Good.
Yeah, she's not just gonna be present, but I think she'll.
I just don't
Her.
want. I don't want anyone to go in with surprises. No surprises. We know everything about to happen.
Yeah, she's.
Nothing can go wrong.
I say she's here to help, but I'm sure Ulthion would say she's here to speak altruistically about her perception of Locke and his character.
Yes, exactly.
That sounds like she's here to help.
Yeah, exactly.
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 Hi, Locke.
Hello,
Sorry I talked to him.
I think it's fine now. I just meant we didn't want to be seen as cavorting or scheming.
We're kind of buddies, so we kind of have cavorted and schemed for a long time.
Wait, if you're gonna be defending him, then why are we going? If you're not, I'm confused.
Witnesses.
I was wondering a similar thing. Maybe I just don't understand how the elven courts work, but if you're the one seemingly wronged in this situation,
Would seem like a conflict of interest, wouldn't it?
Then-
I think it would be the other way around. If
Maybe
I
objective.
am the most direct victim, then my opinion and defense will have greater weight.
But
That being said, your crimes were not committed against me. They were committed against Mendrathis and Eridor, against the elven people and their church. You had sworn, well, you had been directed not to bring weapons.
that part,
You
yes.
had been trusted not to cause any chaos or problems. And that is precisely what you did. In essence, my defense of you is my defense of myself. For trusting all of you to begin with. I have to defend that stance.
You shouldn't need to.
I'm happy to. This is my home, and these are my laws, and these laws have protected our people and granted us the abundance that you see around you here. There are elves standing at the Phoenix Gates ready to die, and yet there are children here smiling. I couldn't ask for anything better.
Not to stand at the Phoenix Gates.
Someone always has to stand. You know that.
Well, yeah, not if the enemies are dead.
You let me know when you've killed every last enemy. If anybody can do it, it's you. I tap you on the shoulder and walk towards the door and start to open it.
Godric stops and starts counting. You hear different dragon names.
Does anybody have any questions?
This is weird, by the way. Normally, I'm the one in chains.
I'm
Who's
sure.
not in chains?
No chains today.
What is that stupid? Figuratively.
Metaphorically.
I understand
one.
what you mean. Listen.
Go ahead.
In the room I was kept, Katerina, is a circle of teleportation that will take you to Greencrest. Use it if you need it.
Absolutely no reason you would need it, and it's probably already being cleaned up. I know it takes more than just some wiping, but it won't be necessary.
I'm going to, as we're all walking in, I'm going to use a sorcerer point for subtle spells, so I don't have to use any somatic or verbal components.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just going to cast message to Locke.
Hey.
And so you hear in your head, we're all here for you at any cost.
Thank
How come
you.
when
They're
it comes from
conspiring
you-
against
When
you.
it comes from you, it sounds so foreboding.
Oh.
It's because she meant it.
At any cost.
People will die.
Dead clerics line the road.
You fucked with the wrong crew.
All right, let's go in. Let's get this over with.
Ulthion,
You should know I would do the same for you.
maybe I could make like an opening statement or something to Locke's character. I have, as I hold up my pipes, so I have a little like guff in my back too, because I'm one of the good guys.
I don't know about an opening statement, but you can definitely be the first to speak on his behalf if you'd like.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
You don't need my permission for that.
Well, you're his defendant or whatever. So, you know,
Orator. I'm speaking. That's it.
Okay. So as you turn to head in, the building itself is a fairly simple and construction with white stone, elf-stone walls, and it's kind of overgrown by vines or the roots of these two large trees that are kind of just looming over it, almost hugging the exterior of this building. The simple water feature has Alatrari out front, this calm, nice pool of crystal clear water. Him symbolizing the the weight of guilt versus innocence in the scales, being perfectly even. As you kind of go through the front doors, the interior is lit by Sindar lights, which are basically magic lanterns that give off this vibrant but very soft hue to the eyes. It's kind of it's not necessarily bright. It's a softish light, but it's very warm. But it radiates out and very effectively. There's no natural lighting coming into the building itself. Probably in part due to the very, very tight canopy of the two trees that are, kind of built into the side of this structure itself. There is, in fact, a dome in the center, and you can see where there are spaces for natural light to kind of flood in. So you can see, like, the shadowy branches in some of these god rays breaking through up above, but they're not really lighting anything in particular, just maybe getting lost in the magical lighting of the room. It's quiet aside from the soft speaking of other elves who are already in here in the room. This single aisle of white polished elfstone leads to this rectangular space, which is corralled in by these waist-high wooden fencing with a gate in front of it. The space has 2 rows of stepped bleachers on the back facing inward down into this space. Where you can see the elves are already kind of sitting there, most likely waiting for their turn to deal with the court's business to speak to the magistrate. The judge's platform is a raised enclosed like wooden platform at the front of this rectangular space, which is only about 20 feet wide. And that's where you can see the chairs, 4 of them, for the judges from the town council, and then the tribunal. This single tall podium at the front is where the chairman or the magistrate is going to proceed over listening to the arguments. On both opposite sides of the rectangle, there are 2 more slightly lower but enclosed platforms with a few seats where both the defense on one side and the prosecution on the other side would sit facing one another in grievances. As technically there are no... The offended party is Ulthion. There won't actually be anybody sitting in the prosecution side. He's more or less just pleading to the council that we shortcut this into a... Here's my argument for why he deserves to be forgiven of this act, and take my word for it, as opposed to actually having to deal with true legal proceedings. Which is an advantage that only Ulthion brings to you as a lawmaster. As you go in, a jurist, a fair-skinned, kind of long, blonde, shoulder-length haired elf wearing these earthen-colored robes, has this list of the court attendees and very humbly and politely greets you as you come in. Lawmaster, welcome. It's been a long time since we've seen you or your father at court.
I look around the room. My father.
Oh, I mean, yes, he's been gone, I believe, correct? Coming to terms with his leaving of the world. He's been out.
Oh, yes, of course.
So he would be absent from the proceedings.
Right.
And abstained. So there will only be, as far as I'm aware, only 2 judges and the magistrate here this morning, as one of them is currently in Mendrathis and could not be here.
Understood.
So either way, you understand how this works, so you feel free to take them and have them sit in the defendant's box. And then the magistrate and the other 2 council members the other 2 judges should be arriving momentarily.
Excellent.
Mhm.
All right. I'll point towards the box. Locke, you're there. Dodrick, you can sit next to Locke if you'd like. Trin, you said you wanted to speak first?
Yeah.
Right, this is where you'll go. Katarina, are you planning on speaking?
Yes.
Mr. Trin would be perfect. All right. And now we wait. Hopefully they understand that since there are non-elves here, they won't take as long.
Oh, jeez. They make us wait. They're making us sweat it out.
Are they like chairs, or are they just like bench stools?
They're like benches. Yeah, they're benches. The judges have actual chairs up on the platform.
You sighing at the bench, I'll look over. Yes, that's true, Godric. Elves get off on being uncomfortable.
Makes sense.
I lean over and I kind of whisper to Katarina. I was like, I recognize this. This is an interrogation tactic. They want us to set a simmer and contemplate and question ourselves. Don't lose faith.
Is with the way the benches are set up, is there like the seating guardrail, or like the way the podium's set up, where it's like an enclosure?
It's enclosed.
That's
In the same in the same waist high. Well, to you it's not, but to the elves, they have waist high fencing that goes around the edge and basically encloses the space in it, or the 2 benches in the back. But there is no podium on the defense or the prosecution side. All advocation and oration is done from the center pit, basically.
Basically, stand up, sat in the pit.
Yeah.
All right, I sit down and kind of. Well then, let's wait for your judges, I guess, would be the right word.
Godric, in here, the acoustics are different. You'll have to enunciate a little bit better.
What do you mean by that?
I guess maybe for the first time ever.
Speak the words
you're not
clearly.
being loud enough.
Whoa. I just want to be clear. You're asking me to be louder now at this point, right?
Yes.
Oh, you have no idea how hard it is. I've been trying to be quiet and nice about it for the last, 2 days. It's boring.
No one asked you to do that.
No, but most people don't like the normal nah that I bring, so I tried to tone it down a little bit while I was in your home.
Yes, that normal nah that you bring is more than your voice. But I've grown to like it.
Weird.
It's not weird.
This is good. Keep the high spirits.
Oh,
Don't seem irreverent, but if this levity is bringing confidence, that will be good.
Well, you said bring confidence, and I already know what I'm going to say, and I'm done with it. Be very short, sweet, and to the goddamn point.
Godric, what are you doing? Put the drink away. You can't drink in here. Why did you even bring that?
Because they said I could have it on the way out.
Keep drinking, Godric.
Am I not supposed to? It's really good meat.
We're going to lose.
But they're not even there yet. Once they get here, I'll put it down.
You'd rather have him with a few inside.
There you go. It's empty. And you see Godric almost go to throw it,
She's a
and
filthy
stops.
girl.
Puts it on the ground.
I'll leave it there. All right, we wait.
So it doesn't take more than about 20 minutes or so as people kind of file in and take their place on the back bleachers, the stepped bleachers behind you all, and kind of walking down and talking. And you recognize some of the faces. They're the local elves from local families in the States and such. Some of them have some documents and stuff, so they're not... Most of them seem like they're here not as witnesses to anything or any form of jury. They're just waiting patiently for their chance to speak on behalf of their grievances. And it's just kind of how things are done here. All legal proceedings are considered like open to everybody to bear witness to, and most of the time, if one exists, they happen here in like a vault of laws, but sometimes they happen in temples, sometimes they happen in private residences, like an estate. But Ulthion, being a practitioner of the laws to the most direct interpretation, the Vault of Laws is the best place to have this done, in your opinion.
Is it true? Okay.
But yeah, so the two judges come out. You recognize both of them. They're both from families. It's Glorard Vos Embelar and then Volwyn Vos Gracien. Both of them are respected as being wise and fair, which is a really great swing in your direction right off the bat. They're both very reasonable. Glard is this male, kind of has dark hair and the sun-kissed skin, and Volwyn is a female elf. She's dark-skinned with these long, fancy braids and has this ornate kind of sun-like emblem, which is another of Alatrari's different holy symbols that's sometimes associated with him. It's an older one, but it's still good. And then comes the magistrate, which is Fingol Vos Northena. He's another fair skin. He has this long brown hair kept in a top knot, in the fashion that most serving in the host would still have, even though he's far older. He's wearing a ringlet of gold that kind of denotes his position. He is another very wise and fair chairman. At this point, he's got to be pushing at least 700 years old, and he's been doing this for a very long time. An expert in all matters of civil litigation.
Can I get the second name one more time?
Of
the second
the
counselor? After
Volwyn
Glorard?
Vos Gracien.
One more time?
Volwyn. And of course, the other two seats remain empty. Town councils normally have 10 on them, but they normally only need 4 plus the magistrate for these sorts of proceedings, and they're chosen at random in order to make sure that nobody can win anybody's favor directly. Of course, your father's seat would be absent regardless, even if he was randomly selected, and he wouldn't be because he's out going through his evening phase, his last legs, his life. The magistrate basically calls to order and, kind of just doesn't read any sort of docket, but just announces that this is a special session under a special occasion, under a circumstance of laws which allow you to argue as the lawmaster and use your influence basically to help mitigate the issues. Ultimately, you could just state here that he's forgiven of all wrongdoings on behalf of his offense to Alatrari as Lawmaster, but then he still has to basically answer for the crime of taking a weapon outside of the foreign district and then attacking somebody. So he opens up the court for statements on his behalf along those lines.
Trin? Oh, is Inara in the room anywhere?
You haven't seen her yet.
Oh, do I start?
Yes. Revered counselors, I would like to introduce Trin Twilight of the Silver Choir. He has been traveling with this party for the better part of a few months and has intimately learned much about the group.
So I turn to Katerina and I put my hand on her shoulder. Conviction, right? I take her nod as I stand up and I walk over towards the booth where I exclaim.
Trin in the middle.
In the middle.
Right
I
there.
move over towards the middle.
You're already sitting
I would
in
prefer
the
exoneration
defense's box.
myself.
Oh, I know. I sit where I'm sitting in the
Yeah.
defense.
Maybe to help to think of him as jury boxes.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
And as I walk over, I look over, I give Locke a little glance, and I give him a little thumbs up.
Nice.
So,
So, this is how it works. There is a series of checks that need to be made. You guys will make a persuasion roll at the end of each of the things that you say. There's a certain amount of points that you need to reach in order to mitigate the worst possible outcomes and circumstances. You need 5 points. A DC check of 10 for the persuade is needed. For every 5 over is worth an additional point. So if you roll a DC check of 15 for persuade, it's worth 2 victories as opposed to 1.
Gotcha.
And if you roll a 20, it would be worth 4. So if one person rolls upwards of 20 or over, you're already on your way to succeeding in convincing them.
So as I take my place, Your Honors, as I was introduced, Trin Twilight, member of the Silver Choir, lore walker, and yes, I have been traveling with the offender, as I point over at Locke.
I like it.
Some would have you believe that this is a,
Less conviction, more exoneration, please.
this man, or rather, Warforged is some mechanical killer brought to your shores to lay waste as a stranger to your ways. But I am here to say that that is not the case. I declare this is no more a villain than any member of this council or this nation could be considered a victim when put under sway of dark magics that would alter their character and who they are to their very core. I know, Locke, through our adventures, we have seen death, daring, and save the innocent, fighting wars on behalf of justice, what is right, and the cause itself. These team members I have been assigned to because they play an important role in the destiny not only of your nation, but of the whole continent itself. And to that I say, you cannot blame him for the fact that he did in fact carry a knife, which is a part of him. He is in fact, as I stated prior, a warforged, so he cannot be held accountable for the nature of his very being. In fact, it was probably a simple oversight, as a powerful mage that he is, the most dangerous thing he carries with him now, and that is his intellect and his mind. As you can reference from evidence A, I motion over to Ulthion, that I have given to my dear friend and compatriot Ulthion, the writings of Thalen, the accounts of another lore walker that has history with other warforged similar to this. I say that this warforged is no more dangerous than any other being in this nation and court, but has fallen victim to something that seems to affect their very core and their nature, but is not of their character. In the writings of Thalen, the bard, the lore walker, And I submit that to the court as well. You cannot blame him for something he has no control over. And his actions by far, throughout everything that I have accounted, have done nothing but better the realm. He is a good man, a good warforged, a dear friend, and was not acting under his own influence, but was rather affected by this dark miasma. As I make my statement.
Okay.
And you would do right to see this for what it is, and note that he himself, or the Warforged himself, is in fact a victim as well. And I would like to note that, by all appearances, as you can see, his defendant here is the one he allegedly crossed and violated through his oversight of foreign laws.
That may be enough, Trin. You're simply here to speak on behalf of Locke, nothing else.
I think I've made my point. So I walk back over to the table.
So, the chairman says, well, thank you for that. It's quite clear that you've spent much time arguing in front of human courts. A very simple, he did not act of his own accord and was affected by outside sources, and here's my proof would have sufficed. But thank you.
Forgive, I am a bard, and we have a flair for the dramatic. But the truth of my words has apparently been heard. Thank you, Your Honor.
Roll.
As I use my inspiration from our dashing race, I roll to save my friend.
That's not bad.
All right.
It's not bad.
That's it. So
Imagine
long.
his persuasion is pretty good.
It might be a little high. Just saying.
If it'll go over
What
to
was
my
that good
If
old
profile.
I'm
God.
gonna be rounding, I'm assuming it's probably gonna be about 24-ish is what I'm assuming he got.
Let's see. My persuasion is 27.
Oh, I was wrong by 3.
Okay.
That's
That's
a lot
pretty
of
good.
persuasion. That's persuady as
Okay, persuady. I'm so persuady.
Forgot to mention if anybody else fails, it raises the DC for the check and gives you a negative.
It's very son of a bitch.
Anyways,
That's important.
so that's
important.
that's faux successes then.
I feel like I'm playing Family Feud. I just went up and I got a bunch of points, but I took some of the best answers.
When
Gotcha.
Trin sits back down next to me, I'm gonna say, well, if that's not conviction, I don't know what is.
Yeah, I tried. I didn't want to get flustered, so I just went on the attack.
I
was
thought
like
it
an
was
animal out there.
Just slap the ghost on lock.
I thought it was
God
brilliant.
damn it.
Oh,
I said
thank
exoneration. Exoneration!
So, it appears that we can't reach out to their humanity, so keep that in mind as I pat you on the shoulder.
Makes sense. They're not humans, anyways.
Right, Godric.
All right, and I stand up, walk to the center.
My name is Godric Angerson. I have traveled with Locke for about 10 years. I was the one who awoke him from his slumber. Since then, I have never seen him do any actions like this ever before. Even when I saw people trying to tear away from him and take what makes Warforged with other parts and such, he did not do anything. He just simply asked them to stop. I was the one forced to do something. We have rarely ever been apart or ever been separated. We've been traveling together his entire awake life, and he has never done anything like this. I am the one that generally gets into the trouble, and he is the one who pulls me from it. He has never done anything like this before, and he would never do it under his own accord. The transformation, the weird changing of his red eyes, I've never seen it before on Locke. So therefore, I do not believe he was under it. He did not do it. Someone else did it. I think that's good. Yes.
So the chairman Which this is usual for them to expand upon what you said. So are you claiming that he is a pacifist, that he's never harmed anybody or attacked anybody before, or are you saying that he's never attacked an ally before?
He's definitely attacked other people in battle, but an ally. He's never ever physically hit an ally.
Okay. Make your persuasion check.
I'm not sure if he's
I would
physically hit
like to use
anyone.
the inspiration I have.
Terrible at
Need
it.
to try to
To
cast
roll
a
with
lightning spell on
advantage.
an entire
Okay.
council.
'Cause I don't think I would.
See how it goes.
Keyword almost.
You have a negative.
Good.
17.
That's not bad.
17.
Rolled an 18 -1.
You had inspiration?
I had one left, yes.
Nice. One left. You can bank them?
No, I don't know why I said one left because I just unclicked the star on my sheet.
Mm.
That's all I got. What's the weirdest? Trying to be persuasive, but be Gudrick.
As he's talking, I lean over to Katarina and say, I know that you can speak to the heart of the matter. Just keep in mind, they're elves. But you know Locke as well as I do. He's under this dark effect. as I give her a bardic inspiration with my whispers.
Ooh, cheating.
Or I attempt to.
So-
I attempt to cheat.
Cheating is good.
The chairman speaks and reminds that people are not supposed to be speaking to one another inside the defendant's box. And so takes my successes down by 1.
Dang it!
Oh no.
That's okay. That's okay.
I'm sorry.
Apologies, Council. They are not accustomed to our laws. It will not happen again.
Either way, they had their opportunity to be briefed on some of our customs by the juror when they entered, and I was told that they did not take that opportunity to ask about any of our proceedings. So I had assumed they were in good counsel with yourself,
Well, then you assumed
Lawmaster.
correctly.
Yes.
Katarina?
Fucking, it's a little place of ice. Fucking burn, goddamn.
Alright. Yeah, I'll head up there. I will admit I haven't known Locke nearly as long as Godric has. But in the time that I have known him, the only actions he's taken are ones that were absolutely necessary in securing the safety of the realm. I'm not sure how much everyone here knows about the incident that happened, nearly a year and a half ago now in Rivergate. Locke willingly walked into Avernus to close the portal in Rivergate and stop the devils and demons from pouring in. Anyone with malicious intent towards the law-abiding citizens of this world, and even the not law-abiding citizens, no one with a heart or will like Locke's could have done something like that. On the note of him accidentally bringing weapons into your fine city, I'm sure all of you would look at someone like Godric, for instance, and assume that he has no weapons on him. But that man's bare hands are far more dangerous than what Locke brought in. But I don't think anyone would think it reasonable to ask Godric to cut his arms off as to not bring weapons into the city.
The gun show comes with him.
Locke is a good person, and I think we've very well established that it's impossible
Bad person.
for what he did to have happened under his own volition. And I know that good, just people such as yourselves would not hold one of your own accountable for actions that weren't the will of another.
Okay. So the chairman expands upon on it. So you argue that because that his weapons are in fact natural, a part of him by design, do you have proof that Warforged have these natural weapons on them, either everywhere or in his case, his chassis and design?
I quietly get up, walk forward to the council with Thalen's book, and just set it down in front of them with a light bow as I back up. You'll notice those pages are marked appropriately.
So the magistrate chairman reads the entries, then hands it to the judges who read them to themselves, and then it goes back to the magistrate, and he keeps it at the tribunal.
I cannot claim to be an expert on Warforged. In my time, I have known two. And ever since I've known him, it's been a part of him.
And did the second Warforged also have weapons?
She was much different. She certainly had her own weapons. She was much more of a physical fighter.
So the chairman expands, looks at you. The book here confirms that a Warforged may have a fit of rage, and which leads to violence and violent action, but it doesn't state that the weapon that the Warforged Brittle wielded was either a part of it or an external weapon carried by the Warforged.
I do believe that every Warforged is unique in some way. We cannot speak to what Locke did before Godric found him. Locke himself cannot speak to that. But whoever designed him with that. And I don't think that's his fault.
Well, I am not an expert, but I have met a few Warforged in my time and read some texts from the creation or the place we assume they were created in Sultanas. And most Warforged have a chassis build, which is standardized in some way, and most modifications would be done either by the Warforged at their request after awakening, unique to themselves, or it would be standardized as based on his chassis. He would have had a standardized Sultanas war staff that he originally awoken with. But we shall take your account into recommendation. So make your persuasion check.
Alright, I'll use my inspiration.
It's not how it works.
I
Yeah.
know. Well, I know. I'm just saying Godric still does
Yeah.
this because he doesn't know.
Just look over.
22.
22? Cool. Okay. Okay. All right.
Locke, I think before I speak now would be your time to explain your perspective on the events.
Would the accused mind coming and explaining to us what transpired?
Yeah, so Locke will step forward. With regards to the actions that were taken, I cannot deny what happened. More than enough people saw. I raised a blade against him, and I pressed it into his armor, hard enough to shatter it. For one of the other questions, the blade has been a part of me and attached to me from my awakening. Whether it was attached after my creation or not, I can't say. I have no memory of what I had transpired. My last moment before everything went dark, I was standing at the party entertaining some children, and then I tried to move away and distance myself. And when I awoke, I was standing over Ulthion with a fistful of his hair. And a shattered dagger attached to my arm. I wasn't conscious, as far as I can tell. But I can say that it's unlikely that those actions were taken under my own volition. Only days before, I had even asked Ulthion to teach me more about fighting with weapons, as I see it as a hole in my learning. I would never have been able to strike with such precision or lethality on my own. And nor would I have. I have other means of attack. I don't know what possessed me to do what I did. Merely that it was done outside of my understanding.
Do you agree with this, Lawmaster Amadir?
Get up and step forward. Thank you, please. Take a seat.
No, don't take a seat yet. Would you like to expand? Do you agree that his assault on you did happen, and that he did attempt to kill you with a blade that was hidden in his arm, whether a part of him or not? That he assaulted, and admits to assaulting a representative, nigh a lawmaster of Alatrari, a sacred position to our people? That you agree that in the teachings, an assault on you is the same as an assault on our god themselves?
As a lawmaster, you know that I agree with those teachings. And the policies put forth, as well as our entire belief system. If you are asking truly that I should even question that, well, I find that question to be lacking in faith. That being said, I can confirm with all honesty that the actions that occurred are exactly as described.
So with your authority, what do you wish to do
Authority.
on these charges?
Yes. We can speak on authority. I am qualified as a lawmaster of Latrari. And you know as well that the only authority above mine in the church is the venerate lawmaster. You know that Savitur Vasglindrath is my direct mentor, and he has put his trust in me. I will say that although I haven't been traveling long, just as the others, I will echo, no one could have known that this was a possibility, nor prevented it. There are others who are allowed outside of the market district with supervision, and some of them are spellcasters. We do not bind their magics or cripple them in any way, and we would not have done the same had we known this blade was in his arm. It was a simple oversight and nothing more. But more importantly, we must look at this from a larger picture. His blade did absolutely no harm to me, although I was taken by surprise. This is because Alatrari chose this moment to reveal a weakness in this group. We are burdened with divine purpose. I have been chosen by Alatrari to become a war master, and it is my belief that my interpretation of Alatrari's whispers are that I am to take war to Takesis and the dragons in the east. Therefore, for whatever reason, Locke lost control, is simply so we may shore up the defenses later on. And I am a lawmaster. I'll step and look towards everybody watching and then back towards the council. And that carries a great weight, and I understand that responsibility. And as lawmaster, and I kneel in front of Locke, look up at you, I grant full, complete forgiveness of your crimes against Alatrari, as I am a representative of Alatrari. As I am, and then I stand up and look right at the council, the law.
Well said, Lawmaster. We will take your pardon as it is, and he is forgiven of his crimes against Alatrari. Now, on to the subject of his non-disclosure of the weapon, and the case of which, why it was, and how it was used. Why did you refuse to disclose that this weapon was attached to your body when you were searched and ordered to give up all arms?
I didn't have the means to remove it. And frankly, I'd forgotten about it.
You would forget about something that's a part of you for your entire life? Do you forget often that you have a hand or a foot or an automata in your body?
Do you often feel your own soul?
So, with that response, I need you to make a DC 15 wisdom save as you see Locke's eyes flick red for a moment.
No!
Whoa.
No! Save, mother trucker!
You have lucky.
Yeah, you
have
luck.
lucky.
Oh, you have legendary luck.
You have legendary
Yeah,
luck.
thanks to Robbie.
Yes.
Gonna need that.
Yes,
Yeah.
you are. He rolled a 4 on that initial die, my friend.
Oh, God.
That's a little better.
Matt's notoriously bad luck returns.
Fuck. Yeah, it's because my fucking dice are.
What'd you say, wisdom?
Yep,
18.
18.
He's like, congratulations, your eyes go red, you murder him. Ah!
So you have used one of your legendary luck too. You are now onto your banked luck, so you have one more. Okay. So his eyes flick red for just a second, and you catch a glimpse out of it. There is a moment where there is a vitriol that kind of tries to leak outwards from you, and then you remember that their customs and their ways are not on trial. You are.
I let that question hang. But then,
And he responds and says, whether or not I remember which appendages I have isn't the question. The question is on you.
it is easily forgotten. Like breathing or blinking for you. Or your spleen. Do you know you have a spleen? It's rather disgusting.
It does feel like.
Right? Do you think that you are a danger moving forward to being allowed to freely roam the lands?
No.
Do you believe that you understand what was the cause of this issue? And can you explain what it is that would take your own willpower away from you?
No.
Do you remember the moments leading up to what happened? And why, what you saw or heard or did? Because based on witnesses that we have that will come forward and confirm the events as they were, you were spiteful of us and our lands, and intolerant and ignorant of our ways and what they mean.
Yes.
As a guest of the Amadir household, you would represent his better judgment and his house's judgment in the things that you say.
I do remember most of it. And I still feel many of the same things while I'm here. I wouldn't presume to lie to you, despite it more than likely not being great for my case.
And yet, I'm sorry, Locke. Until what ails you is discovered and we learn how to control or eliminate it, you can't guarantee you're not a threat.
Yes, I said as much, did I not?
In one way you did. We were hoping you would expound upon it some more and help us understand what it is that caused this outburst. If this was in fact not you doing so, we were hoping that you had a firmer idea or answer of what it possibly could be. Because as it is mostly just anecdotal and hearsay evidence that you provide that there's some mysterious external force pressing against you which would make you act violently in rageful outbursts and harm individuals that otherwise would call you a close friend.
In the hours before, when we were coming towards Ulthion's home, I witnessed a change of the landscape. A vision of sorts, I suppose.
Is this the first time that you've had a vision of such?
Not the first vision, but this one was vivid. Brief, but vivid. An object in the distance. And most of the land here turned blackened and corrupted. Didn't last but a moment. I still feel a deep unease and a layer of it's not corruption, but chaos over everything in this place. It sets me on edge. It makes me uncomfortable, and if I had a stomach, I think it might make me sick.
And what do you believe is responsible for this feeling? What you saw, or the lands here?
When I tried to focus on the vision while I was held overnight, I saw it clearer and closer, the object. The sun was rising behind the ruins of a tower, and as the day progressed, the tower began to build itself, and the sun behind it rose. And by noon, it was a great and powerful citadel, strong and mighty in an afternoon sun. And as the sun set, the tower crumbled and turned once again to rubble. And it did this many times over every day. I don't know what that means. Strangely, the sun also did not do anything other than rise and fall in the same place. No east to west, just in front of it, the silhouette of a tower. Up, down, a tower building itself and then crumbling. But as for the second part of your question, no. I'm fairly convinced that there is something wrong with this land. Maybe it's connected to the vision, and that's why I've felt it more clearly here. But I've never felt it more than when I've been in this place.
So, his eyes flick red again. I need you to make the save again.
Oh! He couldn't roll low. What?
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, I can. I've done it.
I don't want to have to tell you.
Because it seems that Locke has altered his opinion and isn't outright stating that he believes that it's necessarily all Eridor's fault. You can roll with advantage for changing your perspective slightly.
Uh-oh. What was the DC?
DC 15 Wisdom.
That'd be a fail.
You have another luck die. You have one more.
Let's see what happens.
You guys all have luck die too.
Yeah, lend him some luck.
I'll use mine. Jesus.
Thank God.
You're gonna use your last one?
People don't like excitement, do you?
Okay.
Not.
That's better. 19 on the
Okay.
die.
So,
I'm gonna kill you.
as you feel your innermost true thoughts and beliefs begin to roil up as a pent-up, repressed rage again at the institutions, at Eridor, at Ulthion's arrogance and his belief that there is nothing in Eridor that could be causing this to happen. Your true self, it is, just boiling beneath the surface. Your eyes flick red for a moment, and you see that citadel through a crumbling wall of ruin in the center of a town that's earth is blackened and decimated by some greater force. You see this source once again, and then in a moment, it's gone. And you are in full control of your faculties. The chairman, well, we will take all that into consideration. Locke, you may now take your seat. I believe you've answered all of our questions to the best of your abilities. We thank you. Ulthion Amadir. You well know that our laws are exceptionally strict because they have to be. We see foreigners and outsiders parading within our lands as nothing but opening ourselves up to the possibility of infiltration for outside forces that would do us harm. Dark elves, changelings, those who might infiltrate, cause harm, mischief, or mayhem, especially during a time of heightened security when we believe that we may be facing another great invasion by our Drakari kin. You spoke on behalf of these individuals. You took them underneath the Amadir household, and you believed that, under the best of your knowledge, that they could be trusted within our lands to act according to our laws and our goodwill. Now I need you to make a persuasion check. Before I finish what they're going to say.
Special effect. Have advantage on the roll, because I am speaking to elves and I'm a lawmaster.
Yep.
Nice. I don't know what's over there, but I see
Looks
I see
decent.
2 digits.
23.
23. Okay.
But I could have just started vaporizing people. Wouldn't that have been awesome?
Shut up, Locke.
With all of that being said and all being considered and the evidence being put forward, and the fact that we have received outside word from an additional source that you are to be trusted, the fact that a member of the Silver Choir in the rank of Lore Walker, not only one, but two, through the writings, would confirm what he is saying, we have decided to not levy any punishment against either your family, your estate, or against Locke himself or your friends. That being said, if another outburst like this occurs, then we will have no choice but to banish Locke from our lands and not allow him ever to step foot within the city of Mendrathis or Eredor again. That being said, we suggest that because of this unknown factor which affects him and his faculties, that if you travel to Eredor again, that you keep them within the Foreigner District and they stay there. They may maintain their weapons, which I suggest that he very quickly finds someone who is capable of assisting him get through this, that he removes himself from Eredor to at least remove the idea that him being here is causing an issue, which this is the first claim that I've ever heard of such things ever happening within our lands. But that's our ruling. You are all free to go.
Yeah, we did it! It's only over my head, Karen. We win! We win!
That is a very large boulder off one's shoulder.
Thank you, Council, for your wisdom and fairness. As always, you have served Alatrari to the best of your abilities, and it is not found wanting. May the rest of your days be filled with the joy of those you love around you.
As well for you. I do suggest that you leave Eredor as quickly as possible.
Understood.
Lest we risk him having such an outburst again.
I believe there is wisdom in your suggestion.
And on top of that, we believe that you have places to be and things to do, War Master.
That's true. Get out. Let's go.
And the judges stand and they leave, climb down from the podium and head to the sides, and they speak to the chairman, and everybody hangs out, and you can hear them beginning the processions as you leave for a different grievance being aired by another elf. There is no sign, from anybody who isn't you. It's just business as usual.
Outside, where my attendant is, I lean over and whisper, "Your watch captain. Find him, have him report to me immediately."
Yes, Ulthion. And he leaves and starts heading back to the estate.
Roger? Place yourself firmly next to Locke. You do not leave his side, do you understand? Do not know if you saw what I saw, but I know, Locke, you must have felt it.
I did.
By the grace of the Seldarine alone did we walk out of there unscathed.
I'm going to leave. To take me to the gate.
That is the plan.
All right.
Locke is leaving immediately. Those who wish to follow him may. I will be behind, ever so slightly. He is... The red eyes appeared not once but twice in the vault.
God's hand just goes on Locke's shoulder. Onward! And I start walking. And then stop. Wait. That's a long walk. Isn't it?
Keep walking.
It's not that far.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not that far!
He's like halfway there already.
Alright. Yeah, I walk towards the gate.
No gate. No gate, no walls.
Not gate
The
walls.
way.
The way gate? That's back in the city.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's where we're going.
That's a long walk. Okay, I
Yeah.
see what you're
Oh,
saying.
you thought you were thinking us going back to your estate to do...
Nope. We're going straight to that way gate.
All right, let's go.
Yes.
We need the horses, stags.
My watch captain is going to escort you back into the city.
Mm-hmm.
You will then retrieve your items. Waygate, back to Ulthion. I will follow behind.
Okay.
I can't go. Not yet.
Rebecca.
Andara. She said she was gonna be here.
Right, I have some business as well with. Well, you have some business with Gwendolyn, but it's important that Locke gets to Ilithir first.
I will get
You
him to.
always come back through the Waygate.
I'll get him to Ilithir, and then I will come back, and then I will go back. There's a lot to back.
I could go to Ilithir with him if you'd like to stay.
Actually, that's not a terrible idea.
If I trust him with anyone, it is you.
Mhm.
You are probably the only other person who could magically restrain him if needed. If I have to restrain him, he's just going to hit me with a lightning bolt again. Emphasis on again.
You had it coming.
There's eyebrow raises still. Maybe.
Nevertheless, shoot.
All right, let's go. We will wait for. We're gonna kind of go into an area where there's little to no people and wait for the fucking guard captain with stags.
One might say it's a stag
Sure.
party.
Hate you. Hate everything about you.
It's a little bit. I mean, get out of the way means just basically going towards like kind of the edge of the town.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
I'm trying to keep
regardless.
our interactions with things that breathe to a minimum.
No, I
It's
get
an
it.
open village plan.
It's
This is
Things are spread out here.
yes.
perfect.
Yeah.
We'll go find a nice little tree and
Um,
grass and just
It's probably somebody's great.
Not gonna
great,
plant
great
you, I'm just gonna-
grandfather's tree. But go ahead.
lightly guide you.
You're not gonna do anything, right?
You don't have to guide me. I'm fucking ready to get the fuck out.
I know. But wasn't ready to go.
So, with the guard captain brings the stags down. We'll have to do it this way. So there is no fanfare and no attention really paid to you as foreigners. Locke gets some strange glances from individuals around, mostly other elves, people that you actually recognize from the party. But everything seems fine as it would be. There's no guards, nobody rushing to arrest anybody or protest what happened, and no argument and no hard feelings from the populace, whatever. I mean, it is what it is. The lawmaster spoke what he spoke, and the council decided what it decided. There's just relief in the air. All except for Locke. As there is a growing call, something deep from within your soul automata, a force which looks to override your being and your control over your body.
Doesn't make sense.
Nothing like this has ever happened to you before in the history of your life. It wants to take control and it wants to cause destruction. This force is just pushing you to, and it's manifesting as this empty voice that is beginning to speak in your ear, this passenger along beside you, which states that you were built for conflict. The battlefield is where you belong. You are not made for this world. You come far from far away, in a place where dark things once conquered an entire world and enslaved them. You were made for war. Until next Friday.
I'm right.
What the?
God